Hello, I'm Robin Tan and welcome to Chapter 1, the Sociological Perspective. Now, first and foremost, let's ask ourselves the question, what is sociology and why are we studying it? Sociology is the study of societies and cultures. Why is it important to study about society and culture? We learn a lot from studying different aspects of our culture. Let's look at Malaysia, for example. Malaysia is very proud of its own culture and heritage. We proudly tell people that Malaysia consists of 3 different races: the Malays, the Chinese, and the Indians. But we frequently forget, what about the Iban, the Kadazan, the Murut, the Dayaks, and of course the Eurasians? They all make up a very important part of Malaysia. How do we compare to other countries, for example? Like Malaysia, America has taken pride labeling itself as one of the most multicultural, multiracial, multi-ethnic societies around the world. So, let's do a quick comparison of the two. In Malaysia, in order to get a driving license, one of the tests you have to take is a written test. This test is available in 2 languages, Bahasa Melayu, Malay, or English. Meanwhile, in the state of California, which is considered one of the most diversely multicultural, multiracial, and multi-ethnic state in the US and the world, the written test for the driving lesson is available in 33 languages. This includes Amharic, Arabic, Armenian, Cambodian, Chinese, English, Farsi, French, German, Greek, Hebrew, Hindi, Hmong, Hungarian, Indonesian, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Laotian, Polish, Portuguese, Punjabi, Romanian, Russian, Samoan, Serbo-Croatian, Spanish, Tagalog, Thai, Tongan, Turkish, and Vietnamese. And let's not forget, the test is also available in the American Sign Language. We look at things like how race, religion, education, work, gender, how all these factors can affect our society, how it can affect our buying behavior, how it can affect our decisions, the things that we like, the decisions that we make, how are all of this affected by all the different factors that we have. The official definition of sociology is the scientific study of human society and social relations. How does different factors affect how we interact with one another? Now, the main focus of sociology is the group. The main goals of sociology includes to understand the forces that operate throughout society. What are the factors that affect our society? To understand forces that mold individuals. What are the factors that affects us as individuals the most? Is it religion? Is it age? Is it sex? Is it our occupation? To understand forces that shape societal behavior. What causes society to behave in a certain way? To understand forces that determine social events. For example, why do some people like going to concerts and others not so much? Why do people like going to mamak? And why do people like going to cafes? What are some of the reasons that affect some of our social behaviors? To be a sociologist, you have to basically change the way you see the world. We cannot look at the world in a very narrow-minded way as we normally do. We have to look at all the different things that we experience every day, all the things that we observe. Okay, how does all of this affect the people around us? We have to broaden our perspective around the world. Basically, you have to learn more. You have to read more, read the news, watch the news. Find out more about what's happening all around us. Talk to people. Different people have different perspectives and different opinions and understanding about how the world works around them. And you have to try to make sense of what's going on around you. Now, there are a lot of things that happen around the world that we may or may not understand. Why do certain people do certain things? That is what sociology hopes to understand. What causes an increase in crime, for example? Domestic violence, cheating among married couples. That is some of the things that we hope to understand better in the study of sociology. Let's have a look at domestic violence, which I'm sure we all agree is a very, very serious issue. Without full sociological understanding of domestic violence, many of us believe that victims should simply just walk away. I mean, if your husband beats you, why should you stay in a relationship? Why can't you just get up, pack your bags, and leave? File for divorce? Okay, it's not as simple as that. Is it easy for domestic violence victims to leave? Why and why not? We have to look at different factors. What is the age of the abuser and the victim, for example? Is the victim a working adult? Does the victim have a job or a means to support him or herself? Does the husband come from a high social status? How will that affect the opinions of people around them? Is there a child involved? What is the social perception of divorcees in the society that this is happening? Those are just some of the factors that affect a person's decision whether to leave a abusive relationship or to stay despite the danger, the ever-present danger. C. Wright Miles in 1959 used the term sociological imagination to refer to the relationship between individual experiences and forces in the larger society that shapes our actions. When you look at society, does society affect our decision? The decisions that we make, the actions that we take, is it because of ourselves or is it because of society? Now we've come to this point. How do we apply sociology in the real world? Can you think of an issue that may or may not have an effect on you and the people around you? For example, things like divorce, for example, an increase of tax, okay, increase in university and tuition fees, which I'm sure is what affect most of you as students. Suicide or death of a loved one. Now, of course, I do hope that none of you have been affected by this kind of situation, but I'm sure we all know that death has a very significant impact on one's life. Losing a loved one can be very crushing to the person. How does your salary affect you? Does it cause you to buy more if you have more money? What about savings? If you get an increment in your salary, would you spend more or would you save more? Why? Think about it. Sociological imagination is the process of looking at all types of human behaviors and finding previously unseen connections among them. We look at patterns of behavior that happens in society and try to figure out why they happen. For example, why do most children who witness abuse in their home become abusers? Now this is a well-known fact. Okay. People who have been abused by their parents are more likely to become abusers. Why? Of course, the simple answer would be we learn from our parents. We learn and observe a lot of things from our parents. Okay. How to treat our loved ones. How do we educate our kids? Nobody really teaches us that. We learn it from observing our parents. So it's a pattern that people tend to repeat what their parents have done in the process of growing up. Now, another question we ask is, why is there a high chance for women who have been abused by their husbands to return to their husband even after they've left the family? I'm sure you've heard of this discussion. Victims of abusers frequently say, oh, he will change. Oh, I will give him a second chance. Oh, I'm sure he regrets his decision. Okay, people like to hold on to this belief. When we get into a relationship as deeply committed as marriage, we like to hold on to this belief that it's not in vain, it's not useless, it's something that we can hold on for dear life onto. Okay, if in life, if something as supposedly as dependable as your life partner, if he or she is not dependable, who else can you depend on? Okay, as human beings, there are many things that we do like to hold on to. For example, religion, okay, family, okay, friendship. Okay, those are things, examples of things that we can use as example of things that human beings like to hold on to despite what they have seen around the world. Sociological imagination tries to examine many, if not every aspect of society, any occasion that involves large groups. For example, crowds at a sporting and social event, okay, concerts, okay. Why do people get so excited during concerts? Why is there this excitement, you know, of seeing your favorite? It's not just seeing your favorite sports team or your favorite band or pop idol. It's this feeling of excitement that is inside this crowd, okay, that it's just contagious and it spreads all over the crowd. For example, we also look at shifts in different styles of fashion and dressing. Compared to 10 years ago, have the way that we dress changed? Let's compare to some of the images in, say, the 1980s. Here are some of the examples of fashion from 1980s, the 90s, 2000s. Any one of you remember what was the popular thing when you were a child, when you were a kid? Okay, anyone remembers this? Or this? What happened to those things? Why have the popularity of some things stuck around and some things just disappeared? Can you believe that this was once popular? Changing patterns in courtship and marriage. Now that's a very, very good example. Okay, I'm sure many, if not most of us, believe in marriage for love. Can you imagine marrying someone that you have no feelings for? Now, up until about 100 years ago, it is believed that marriage for love is actually impossible. Can you believe that? The idea of marriage for love being impossible. It is impossible to marry someone that you love. Okay, but what has happened nowadays? Can you imagine marrying someone that simply because, for example, can you imagine marrying someone for political reasons or for, I'm sure plenty of people marry for money, you know, but then again, that's a whole other reason. We tend to stigmatize or we tend to make fun of or insult people who do not marry for love. Like, for example, oh, they settled or they couldn't find someone else. Okay, why is that? Isn't the most important thing is that they're happy in their life? Religious movements. Now, there have been many different types of religions over the years. Okay, the rise and fall of different religion. Of course, we will explore religion a little bit more in one of the chapters. But for example, what do you think is the largest religion in the world right now? The answer is Christianity. Okay, Christianity is the largest religion in the world in terms of followers. But what do you think is the fastest growing religion in the world? The fastest growing religion in the world is Islam. Not sure if you would have guessed that, but the number of followers in Islam has been increasing. Why is that the case? Another thing that we might look at is the distribution of income and access to resources and opportunities. Now, let me ask you a question. As a person, as an individual, what kind of opportunities do you have? You're in university right now, so college education is definitely one opportunity that you might have. But imagine this, what happens if you or your parents cannot afford to go into college, cannot go into college? If you didn't graduate with a degree, you know, in Malaysia, unfortunately. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think it's possible to succeed in your life in Malaysia without having a college or a university degree? From what I have observed, yes, it is possible, but it's very, very difficult. Okay, no matter what job you end up doing, I've observed that a lot of bosses, a lot of employers, they will always say things like, oh, you only have a diploma or you don't have a college degree, so I can only offer you this amount of salary or this amount of money. Oh, I'm sorry, even though you are qualified for this job, but you don't have a degree. Does having a degree make a person more qualified for a job? What about the poor and more unfortunate who don't have access to education? Do we simply abandon them? That's another example of a question that we can look at. Sociology is frequently known as one of the social sciences. What is social sciences? First and foremost, we look at the word science. How does science work? First and foremost, we formulate a hypothesis, which is basically an idea or a theory of what we think is happening or what we think is going to happen, or the reason that something happens. Okay? Then we test that hypothesis. Is it true? Okay? We do observations, we do experimentation, we look at the data, we read up existing research, and then we look and see, we check, does it fit into our hypothesis? Is our hypothesis true, or is it not true? Okay, in some cases. Sociology employs the same scientific methods of investigations that is used in natural sciences such as physics, chemistry, and biology. What is this scientific method? The scientific method is a process by which a body of scientific knowledge is built through observation, experimentation, generalization, and verification. Social sciences. The social sciences consist of any and all disciplines that apply scientific methods to the study of human behavior. What are some of the examples of the social sciences? Sociology, of course, this is the subject that we are studying now. Psychology. Now, in the recent years, psychology has become a very popular field of study thanks to an increasing awareness of those suffering from mental health issues and the awareness that mental health can affect everyday people like you and me. Economics. How does the economy affect us? Let's just say, for example, we've often hear things like, oh, the economy is bad, or the economy is good. Actually, have we ever heard someone saying the economy is good? More frequently than not, we often hear people saying, oh, the economy is bad, oh, I have to do this or do that because the economy is bad. Now let me ask you a question. When the economy is bad, does it affect your spending behavior? Does it affect how much and what you buy? Does it affect your behavior when it comes to buying and selling? History. Now, it is important to learn from history, of course. Our past tells us what has happened, so that when we learn history, we learn what not to do in the future. That is very, very important, of course. The history of diseases, the history of religion, the history of political movements, the history of culture, those are just some of the things that we can learn when it comes to history. Political sciences. How does politics work? What type of political movements are there? And how does it affect our society? What is the difference between a leftist and a rightist? Now, those are just some of the things that we learn in political sciences. Social work. Now, I don't know about you guys, but some of you, maybe you are interested in things like volunteering, in helping people, in doing charity work. There are actually some courses that some people might take up to learn more about helping people. What are some of the works that you can do to make society a better place? Linguistics, the study of languages. How many of you are interested in studying languages? Now, many of us are Malaysians, so I trust that most of us can at least speak Malay and English because of our education system. Some of us, because of the school that we've been to, maybe we can speak Mandarin or Tamil. How many of you are interested in learning a fourth a fifth, a sixth, or a seventh language. We live in an increasingly globalized society, and learning an extra language is definitely very, very helpful for our future. And finally, we look at communication studies, more commonly known as mass comm. Journalism, public relations, marketing. How do we influence people's behavior when it comes to politics, when it comes to buying behavior, when it comes to fashion, when it comes to ideology? Those are some of the things that we might study when we look at communication studies. That's it for part 1 of today's lecture. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue on with part 2. I'll see you shortly.